So, hi, we're in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania at the Valley Forge National Historic Site. This is the site of the encampment of the colonial army in the Revolutionary War. There's a visitor center here, and then there's an auto tour you can do when you can drive around and see the different sites. So we're gonna do the visitor center. We were here we took the kids here when I think Ashton was like it was probably like 7 years ago or so, 8 years ago. Yeah, so you were here when you were real little, like 2 or 3. But Ashton learned about it, the Revolutionary War last year in class. So, we decided to come back here. This is like a half hour from Philadelphia. So, not a long drive. We actually spent the morning in the city and then we're here in Valley Forge. Welcome to the Adams Family Travelers. Join us as we use our vacation days to travel around as much as we can and enjoy exploring the world. Make sure you join us on our adventures, especially our adventures traveling through our home state of Pennsylvania. So we just finished up at the visitor center. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a very small museum in there, but it kind of tells you about the hardships they had during the winter. There's a theater if you go out the back, and I thought that was even better for telling you about the situation at Valley Forge. There was no battle here. Yeah. Yeah, and there really was no battle here. It was more just, Friedrich von Steuben came and, he was the Prussian general that prepared our troops, and trained them and really just getting rid of disease. And it was just, important because this is where they say the American army was born, because this is where the American army became trained instead of a bunch of different militias. So this really led 5 years later to us winning the war, but it was a long road and this was a hard winter for the soldiers. So now we're going to do the auto tour, and we're going to drive to the different stops. So we are at stop number 2. Stop 1 is the visitor center on the encampment tour. And this is Muhlenberg's brigade. So this is where General Muhlenberg, who led the Virginia troops, encamped for the winter. And this I remember being my favorite stop when we came like 8 years ago. There were reenactors here that tell you about life during that winter at Valley Forge, and we get to see the huts as well. So it should be pretty interesting. And if this is the hut, I don't know if this is the hut, but they said 12 soldiers slept in each hut, which is a lot in this tiny little space.
Yeah. Anybody else? Which level would you want?
I would want.
just finished with the cabins here, the huts. I thought they were interesting. The reenactors weren't in there because we got to see we got here just in time for an artillery demonstration, which was really cool. So the reenactors were doing that, but it was crazy how tight of quarters, it was. They sleep 10 to one of those cabins. Ashton didn't think it was that bad. I couldn't imagine living in one of those over a winter when you can't really go outside and the conditions are bad and you don't really have food. I mean, I think I like this area of Valley Forge because it really shows you how they lived. So behind me, you can see the Memorial Arch. This was built in 1917 to commemorate George Washington, General Washington, and the troops that survived here or stayed here and camped at Valley Forge. And there's just so much open space around here too. As we're going through this auto tour, people are hiking, people are biking, there's a trolley that's going around. So just a neat place, especially on a nice day. So behind us is Washington's headquarters that him and his family and aides stayed at during the encampment at Valley Forge. So he rented this house for the encampment. So George Washington would have stayed here. Martha Washington eventually came up, and Alexander Hamilton, who was the aide-de-camp of George Washington, stayed here as well, which is kind of cool to know that both George Washington and Alexander Hamilton were here. So we're going to go check out the headquarters. So I was wrong. This little house behind me was actually the house that that was General Washington's headquarters. The other building was a visitor center. This is a little smaller. I'm sure it was more cramped with the amount of people he had in his household, but definitely more luxurious living quarters than the soldiers had. So, the guide in there told us that there were 30 people living and working in that house. So I think it would have been pretty cramped. But George Washington had his own office and his own bedroom, and the rest of the people, including slaves in there, would have had to share. But it's just a need to see that. Like, the house is mostly original, almost all. So, like the, park ranger was telling us, we were able to touch the handrail and the stairs that George Washington touched. Pretty cool. And Alexander Hamilton. So we are at the Powder Tavern, which is real close to Valley Forge National Historic Site. We spent about 2.5 hours at the historic site, going around and we didn't stop at the last few stops, but, we're here to eat at the tavern. They've got like American tavern fare. They make craft beer here. This restaurant's been here, or at least the restaurant's been in this spot since 1746. It was a rest spot for travelers and potentially a rendezvous point for the George Washington and leaders of the colonial army, and apparently a rendezvous point for George Washington and Marquis de Lafayette. So it's got some potential Revolutionary War connections, which is why we decided to eat here. I believe we ate here last time we came and the food was good. It was a while ago, but we're gonna have some dinner. So we just had dinner at the Black Powder Tavern. It was good. Ashton and I got fish, shrimp, and chips. Aaron got Cajun mac and cheese, and Brian got a Wagyu truffle burger. So I definitely recommend that. Just the history of the site. It doesn't really feel like it's Revolutionary War connected, but just a neat way to end a day at Valley Forge. So So we are at the King of Prussia Mall, which is the fourth biggest mall in the country. It's in King of Prussia, right about a half hour outside of Philadelphia, and it's 3 million square miles. And then there are over 450 stores in here, so it's really neat to just walk around and go here if you're in the area, especially something to do after Philadelphia or Valley Forge. There are also a ton of restaurants and stuff near here, and I recommend if you know what store you want to go to, there's a bunch of different buildings that you use a GPS to take you directly to that store so you can park near it, because I've made that mistake before. I mean, this place is massive. So we're leaving the King of Prussia. It's huge. There's some neat stores in there. We stopped the Lego store. There's a lot of Japanese type stores, like international snack stores. We were looking specifically for GameStop. If you're looking for a specific store, just make sure you have a plan. There are maps in there, but the place is so huge. We took the GPS to make sure we were parked near GameStop, and then we kind of walked around. So definitely if you're around here, it's worth a stop in, but it is busy and hectic inside. Thanks for watching.